Uh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of River City 93. This is your host, as always, Elliot Barr. I have been officially shadow banned by Matt Myers, who car died last night, and that's a result of him shadow banning me. Ding.
Worthwhile. Why that happened, Elliot? Why you? It's not even shadow banned. There's nothing shadow about this.
No.
Why are you banned? Why are you banned from the stadium, Elliot?
Because we scored 4 goals.
Why are you specifically banned?
Well, because I had a wedding to go to and we scored 4 goals.
Yeah. Shanir and I were there. We're hanging out with 4,000 of our closest friends. You know who's not our friend? Elliot.
Whoa, I am your friend. I just had to be at a wedding. And also,
we need to evaluate who your friends are. What does a real friend schedule a wedding opening weekend of soccer season?
No, but
there we go.
Come on,
happy wife. This is true. And also join us.
Yeah, that's true.
First appearance back since becoming a father of a new child, Father of the Year himself, Mr. Shanir Duran II. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, I don't know about Father of the Year, but hey, I'm trying. I'm working on it.
So you got 2 kids.
Going
That's
off of very little sleep. Going off of very little sleep, but hanging in there.
Have you already put the soccer ball in his bed to try to influence him?
Wait, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Oh my God! I said, have you already put the soccer ball in his bed to influence him?
Not yet. But I did go to the Kickers game with my older son, 3 years old. He had a blast. He started off a little rocky because he just napped in the car the whole way there. But he had a really good time.
He was living it up in the supporters section. Let's be real here.
He was.
Yes.
He was on the drums and everything.
Red Army cadet.
He was living his life. So guys, let's go ahead. Let's dive into this. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to get prepared for. We got 3 games in the first 7 days, but let's focus on the game that happened last night. Richmond 4 over FC Tucson. It feels good to do one of these game reviews again. And before we dive into the game itself, I just want to say this. I think all of us agree that Mr. Neil Vignoles was out of this world last night. How great he performed. 2 goals, an assist. And all of us are asking this question: where was this Neil at last year?
I mean, I think part of that is he was a little injured at the beginning of last year. He missed the first couple of games, so it took a little while. But and this is what I was talking about last year, the continuity piece. That's I think what's really helping to push us forward. Neil's played with Emmy, he's played with Bolaños, he's played with Bolduc, he's played with Zaka. That familiarity is going to help out. You know where guys are going to be a little more innately. You know what kind of runs they want to make. You know where they like to play the ball. I think we saw a lot of that firsthand on Saturday.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that. A team in FC Tucson that lost key pieces in Charlie Dennis and Shaq Adams. Corford was not playing because of a hip injury.
They lost this guy, Dakota Barnathan.
Yeah.
He seems good.
Seems really good. Seems really good in our midfield. Shanir, I'm going to ask you this question first and foremost, man. From the starting 11 that you see, what was your first initial thoughts of the first 20, 30 minutes of the game?
Well, the first 20, 30 minutes of the game, for most of the first half, we spent a whole lot of time on Tucson's end of the field. And from go, it seemed like they seemed a lot more comfortable on the ball. The kickers seemed like they know exactly what they're doing. It almost felt like they were having a training session. I mean, I know we'll talk about Tucson a little later, but I do feel that Tucson were not ready at all. And the kickers took advantage of that. They relished in the fact that they were able to link passes, make runs, and create situations that were very problematic for Tucson. And that started from like the beginning. Those first 30 minutes were, I mean, I can say that we kind of won the game within those first 30 minutes. Those first 30 minutes were, we kind of set the tone, then let Tucson know, look, this is our night.
I would even break the first half hour up into maybe the first 15 and the second 15. The first 15, I think Tucson tried to get a quick strike in, and the guys were able to absorb it a little bit. We saw, and throughout the game, but especially that first 15 minutes, kind of that classic Sawatsky setup of, you want the ball? Fine, you can have the ball. Beat us. See what we can do. Because once we take the ball, we're going. We're trying to hit at you. So first 10 minutes, were a little rough. Darren mentioned post game that they kind of got a little battered early on, but once that flip switched over, and we'll talk about the big switching over to kind of get things really going around what I think was minute 17 or 18. Full speed ahead from there. I never really felt like any other result was coming once the kickers went up.
I want to ask you guys this question because, Matt, you mentioned that first 10 minutes of the game. You guys were in the stadium watching this live. How nervous did you guys get while Kara making those first two saves in the game? Granted, there weren't very dangerous chances, but how nervous did you guys get before the goal was scored and Belongings had this run?
Not.
Yeah, not really. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a fairly even league. The other team is going to get chances. And I do feel that with someone as solid and consistent as Akira in goal for us, and that back line actually looking pretty good throughout if you look at the image of the entire game, and even just from the way they were communicating early on, I wasn't really too worried. And once that first goal went in from Terzaghi, I said, look, you know what? All right, we can really square this away and really put this game behind us if as long as they stick to doing what they're doing right now.
Yeah. Right, and it's kind of the thing we talked about a lot last year. There's differences between some shots and other shots, and some saves and other saves. There's kind of saves that Akira was getting early on. Take those every day of the week. Right, nothing to worry about. They had that one chance late in the second half that was a legit save that Akira had to pull out. But other than that, the saves are there on the stat sheet, but they're kind of garden variety.
Yeah, you're right. He probably had two saves in this game that I think were a little bit worrying. Definitely one in the 38th minute. I can't remember the Tucson player's name, where he kind of like scissor kicked it, and Akira had to dive to his side very quickly in the first half. But let's go ahead. Let's talk about the opportunity that this kicker chance created, because one of the things we talked about in our preseason podcast were, A, where were the goals going to come from in this team? We saw that. B, who were going to be providing those goals? We saw that. And how were the fullback interplay going to be an important part of this team? We saw all of that. Really, what we saw, the first real dangerous chance was an out ball from Akira that got over the top of the whole team, and Belongings got on top of it. And Matt, you talked about and kind of alluded to it about just this is one of the bad things that we see in Belongings, where he kind of gets not in his head, but kind of squanders those opportunities like that. Because in a game later in the year, it might be an opportunity like we have one chance on goal and Belongings has to finish that chance.
Yeah, I mean, I think at first he was probably a little surprised that the ball even made it over top of the defense, because when he was collecting that, he didn't collect it in stride. I mean, that'll happen sometimes, but I don't think I got the impression he didn't think the ball was even going to make it to him in the first place. But he was free and clear, probably a good 5 yards, ahead of the final defender. So we had a one-on-one, 11 minutes in with the keeper. He was at a little bit of an angle, but his left-footed shot didn't end up having much on it. I think we've seen him in late last season, even in preseason, be able to really make good contact on some of these right-footed curlers coming in from the left side. I think if you give him that chance again, he's certainly going to do better with it in the future. Is it going to be a goal every time? Who knows? Probably not realistically, but yeah, it was positive in the fact that he was able to get himself into that position in the first place. But I think he'd even tell you that the finish was nowhere close to what it needed to be.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to be a chance that was there for the taking. But a little bit later on, Richmond goes on to score that first goal. As we all know, is the man himself, the living legend, El Rey, Emiliano Terzaghi Chenier. Kind of break us down to this goal, because this goal kind of seemed like it was all over the place a little bit.
Um, I don't know if it was all over the place. One thing I did notice throughout this game, and this goal really kind of showed that the first goal, and it was basically from go, and throughout the whole game, this pattern continued. The kickers were able to create situations where they were drawing the central midfielders of Tucson wide. And as they were gradually drawing them wide, there was this big giant of pocket of space in the middle. And in this goal, um, you have Zaka, who literally has acres of space. Once he gets past his man out on the flank, he has acres of space in the middle. Like, you could literally plop a house in the space that he had. And he just takes that space and creates this situation where the defense now has to collapse on him, creating that space out wide. And now from out wide, the shot comes in. Yes, it's blocked. And of course, who's there? Fox in the box. Terzaghi just grabs it.
Yeah.
Puts it in the back of the net. So
Yeah.
I do feel that this was something that they really were trying to create. And throughout the entire game, you saw that space in the middle just opening up for the kickers. And Zaka and Mills had so much space in the midfield. Right at I'd say right on the edge of the final third, they had so much space in there.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was necessarily this, Zaka and Neal fully taking advantage of it. I thought it was a lot more Stu Ritchie and Stephen Payne being able to take advantage of that space, pinching in from their fullback positions and being able to make those diagonal runs. We saw Ritchie make that a few different times during the course of the game. He would really carry the ball from the left back position into the central midfield and be able to make something happen here. But on that goal, we saw Matt Bolduc really be able to get himself into a wide open spot, and a wide open spot where he's able to receive the ball and attack directly from there. It was one quick one touch and then a hard low shot, and I can't even remember if the keeper technically saved it or if it got caught up in the defender's legs. But either way, he put it into a dangerous position, and Emmy gets himself into the right spot like he always does. And I mean, he scores some amazing goals. He scores a lot of goals from being in the right spot at the right time and being able to tap it in. And you know what? They all count the same.
Right.
Exactly.
And that is definitely his league-leading 29th goal of his career. But I think the most impressive goal of the night is definitely the second goal, because for the first time in over a year, not a calendar year, but a year, we had an assist from a fullback, guys. We had an assist from our right-sided fullback, Stephen Payne, number 22. He gets the assist on this one, kind of doing a low-driven shot into Neil. And I'm gonna ask you guys this question. The biggest difference to me that I'm seeing out of this team is that the fullbacks are getting up higher. They're being more a part of the offensive play. Why do you think that's something Darren has really been focused on and locked in on this year alone with the fullbacks?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything different specifically this year, because you think back to how we've played in his other years. Antley always got forward. His first year, Scotty Thompson would push forward from the left back position. Monty would push back forward from the left back position. But I think Richie and Payne might fit a little bit better with his ideal style and look of a fullback. I mean, Calvo was more of a stay-at-home right back, and I don't think he was supposed to be the starter last year, but a million people got hurt, so it was him. So I think that's more of it. But even the second goal, it looked really stop and look at it. The build up to it looks a lot like the first goal. The ball came out from a semi clearance. Zach is there in an acre of space to be able to play the ball out wide right. This time it was Payne, delivering a cross instead of a shot like Bolduc did. And it's pretty, I'm not going to say simple finish. I think that downplays Neal's ability a little bit, but all he had to do is be able to place the ball essentially.
What do you guys think a goal like that does for Neal's confidence? Kind of going off of the rough year one that he had now going into year two.
I mean, I think it's big. It's really big for his confidence, and especially first game of the season. It basically makes him feel like, all right, I'm hitting the ground running, and I think it gave him some freedom to just continue to play well. Of course, up until then, he was already playing well. He was already playing awesome, but after that, you felt that he was like, all right, so this is how I can play. I can put the ball in the back of the net. All right, let's have some fun with this. But one thing I wanted to reiterate was the fact that, I mean, Payne has all that space because of you know how a lot of times you hear the term overload, you always associate it with maybe the right side or the left side. Darren is creating an overload in the middle, and that overload is a panicky overload. And it stems from, like what I was talking about, the creating that space in the midfield, causing the central midfielders to scramble and the back line to collapse in on itself. So because of the fact that you have someone like either Neal or Zaka, or maybe one of the fullbacks cutting inside and taking that space in the middle, the entire defense collapses in to prevent him from running right through them. When they collapse in, guess what? Matt's got space on the outside. If that stalls and continues to play out and it doesn't happen quickly, Matt then cuts in on the inside, drawing any fullback that maybe stayed out in. Now, who's got space? Payne. And that's what created this goal. Because of the fact that the ball was in their half for so long, it created the opportunity for Matt to pull the defense closer and closer and closer into their box, creating the spaces on the flanks. And I mean, I feel like this is something that Darren has been probably trying to work on for a while now, and you can see it really basically coming into play. And like Matt said, we've done it before. I mean, we've had our fullbacks bombing forward before, but it's working now because of all the other pieces that are coming together.
Yeah. On the Matt Smiles meter, Matt, how big of a smile did you have knowing that we got 2 goals in Section O's direction this year to start the year off?
Usually takes a while, doesn't it? The team tends to love attacking down the other end. But, hey, I'll take a 2-2 split every single game. You know what? I can be fair. I can be equal.
You can be very equal, and definitely got 2 more goals in the second half of the game. And this third goal, guys, Matt Bolduc probably had the best pass of the night. I don't know if you guys were able to see it in the stadium, but definitely on watching it back, the way how this ball kind of lifts up and kind of curves around the center back to land on Jonathan Bolaño's foot, it's good. It's a good. If you haven't seen it, go back and look at the third goal. We'll post it on our social media page, or you can look at it on Richmond Kickers. But the third goal is probably the best pass of the night.
Yeah, I mean, watching the replay back, you definitely see a different angle than in the stands. It looks like it should be getting picked off by that defender every single time. I'm still not sure how it got through, but you know what? Don't care.
No, not at all. But I think
I mean, that's a situation. Oh. Yeah, that's a situation where Matt basically caught that defender flat-footed. Mm-hmm. That defender is trying to run back, then all of a sudden that ball is whipped in behind him, and he does this kind of, you know how you see players when they get caught with someone dribbling left, right, and behind them, they get caught like trying to run forward while turning around. And that's literally, like, it was comical, but that's literally what just happened to him. He literally realizes, oh goodness, this ball's behind me. I'm trying to move forward, and as I'm trying to move forward, I need to turn around, and he just completely missed the plot, and that ball goes right into Bolaños. But Bolaños had been doing this for a lot of, especially in the second half. You saw it a lot more. He was having a lot of space over on that left side to run in behind on him.
Yeah, there was a very common theme in this game, and I don't know if it's very different to how Bolaños played last year, where he was very much cutting inside a lot to come in and be that second forward. It seemed like a lot more this year. He's looking more for those one-on-one matchups, looking to play in space. Are you guys kind of seeing that same kind of trend for Bolaños based off of preseason in this game?
Maybe. I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like it might be a little early to say it's a trend quite yet. It
Mhm.
could have been, he was taking what Tucson was giving them because, like Shaneer's mentioned, they were just collapsing in the middle, giving the wings all day long.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, another thing I noticed with Bolaños is last year there was a lot of, especially when he was getting the balls down the flank, it was a foot race to see if I can get past my defender and bend inside in front of the defender. There were a lot of situations where he was cutting in behind the defender, now opening up into the field. Now he either can maybe shoot if he has space, and he has so many options in the middle. He's got Tozagi, he's got Matt, he's got Neil in the middle where he can create some situation. There were so many times where there were so many dangerous passes right at the edge of the box or even inside the box because Bolaños bombs down the wing, the defender catches up to him, and he just pops in behind the defender and just cuts inside behind the defender. And now he has the whole field in front of him to work with.
Yeah. And I really like this aspect. I know I was being negative with Bolaños at first, but I really like this aspect of Bolaños' game is that he's not looking to all do it by himself. He's not looking to automatically go for the scoring chance. He's kind of lifting his head up a little bit more. The technique of lift your head up, look to see what's around you. And that definitely how this third goal came across. And it's funny because on the broadcast, you see Matt just running in with his arms up, like, hey, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And next thing you know, it's kind of like this nail kind of just drifts in as quiet as he is, kind of like a representative who he is, and he just one hits it into the top of the net. And that the thing that's impressive about this third goal also as well is that you saw so many players just flood the box automatically as soon as Bolaños beat his man. You know, I think that's something like Darren is really honed in and keying in on. This guys looking for the opportunities and chances, not kind of relying on one person to do it all by themselves.
Well, not only were they flooding the box, but they were making different runs,
Mhm.
too. So Bolaños had options available to him. He could have tried to play it low and hard across for the classic Emmy tap in. That looked like it was pretty well covered, most likely. So he was able to cut it back at a slight angle for Neil, and then he kind of flipped it in. But like you said, Bolduc was out there too. That could have been an available option. So it wasn't just everybody making that same back post run and you just hope you pinball it in. There were staggered runs, there were differentiated runs, and that makes it a lot harder for the defense to be able to consistently track everyone too.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really was.
Yeah.
And lastly, guys, let's talk about this fourth goal.
Can we go back to the third goal real fast?
Oh yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think need to give Bolaños some credit for just absolutely skinning the guy down on the in
He
line.
did.
Oh, I was about to say that. Yes.
He did.
Yes. So he's still got a one-on-one play that we've seen in the past, but watch after the ball goes in and look to see who's celebrating the most. It's Bolaños, right? He's
Yeah.
going over there. He's the one really leading the celebration. He's super hyped up. That's what you want to be able to see. It's normal to be able to see the goal scorer kind of take the glory. I don't think Neil's that kind of guy in the first place, but to see a guy get that hyped up over an assist of being able to set up the play, that shows, I think, a really good team spirit. It shows the guys are connecting in a good way. Yes, they're roommates too, so there's probably that added connection there as well. But I think that's a really positive outlook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good connection to see.
Yeah. On top of that, I think where the intensity of that celebration also comes from is we've seen him cook players like that. We've seen him burn past fullbacks and get them with a move. But a lot of times in the past it's been kind of wasted because after that he'll take a while to do something else and then maybe the defender will have time to recover. But in this one, just that stutter step, hesitate, and burn him just broke his ankles, and immediately that's when he just slots in the ball. I think he realized he found his recipe. Like, okay, now I'm doing it. I don't know if it's something maybe Darren maybe worked on him with, or the coaching staff maybe worked on him with, because at the end of the day, that was something that I didn't see that much in his game, was the quick action after beating a player.
Yeah, I think you're fair enough, because a lot of points in last year, it was kind of like he didn't know whether or not, do I want to take this shot on goal? Do I want to try to cut it back? And he was just very quick. Like, he automatically knew, like, no, I'm cutting this ball back. I'm lifting my head up and looking around for it. So moving on, fourth goal, guys. We got a striker.
There's so much to unpack with this one.
Dude, one, we had a seal dribble. Two, for the first time since, God, in the last 3 years, our backup striker scored a goal.
Yes. First time of asking too. First game.
Right. Maybe we need to give him the name El Tonke instead of the other one.
He's British. They don't understand Spanish.
Yeah, that's true. But I think this is.
But I'm gonna have. Yeah, I mean, to start with, I'm gonna have to. I mean, first off, the idea of that throw-in, like literally dropping it. There were so many bodies in that area to literally drop the ball right at who was it who received that ball?
Vincenzo.
Yeah, Candela. Yeah.
No. Vincenzo gets it off of that header. So I can't remember who receives the ball first, but literally there are bodies all over the place. For him to get that throw in and drop it right on his head, and then I'm sorry, I think we need to nickname Candela Candelino, because that was a very Ronaldinho-esque move. Literally running with the ball on his head. I was beside myself with that. Right. But just the composure to do that, and then just to get the flick to flick it on to Neil.
Yeah, to be able to do it, but have it be effective in doing it, and not just a little party trick.
Doing it with the pressure too, because I mean that defender was on top of him. He ended up on the deck after flicking the ball on to Neil. And Neil, the vision to just put that ball in behind. That was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. No, that was really good to see, from just all around the connectedness of it. And it wasn't like a selfish moment or anything like that. It was just a really good play. Very happy for Matt Bentley to get his goal. Because that's something that the Kickers,
and that was some confidence to take a shot from that angle and just blast it back the goalkeeper like it wasn't anything. Just to have that confidence day one coming off the bench, that confidence to take a shot from that angle, fantastic from Bentley.
Yeah, we were talking about that post game in the interviews, and he mentioned how while he looked up, he saw the keeper slightly off his near post, and he thought to himself, "I'm going to hit it low and hard and make him have to recover from this." But also I feel like he's a hungry guy, but he's also a humble guy a little bit, too, because he was talking about, hey, I'd come in and given away a couple of fouls, already, and I didn't remember those fouls at all. I think they were probably just whatever kind of moments, but that's what he's thinking. In that moment, he's already looking to be able to kind of right his wrong. He's out there trying to show that, hey, Darren, keep me on the field. I want to keep producing. And that's what you want to see, from guys off the bench. Even if he wasn't necessarily playing a striker role, he was playing out on the wing, and but I got to think is the greatest named sub ever of Matt for Matt.
that is a good substitution for you, Matt, as well. Absolutely. You got 3 Matts in there. Guys, final thoughts on this game. I'm going to ask you guys 2 questions before we quickly move on to other parts. Our back line looked a lot more solidified, a lot more solid, didn't allow Kerr to get battered and sprayed with shots, and we saw some parts of games last year. Real quick, you guys' thoughts on the back four of Richie, Payne, Jalen, and Nathan. How did they do?
I think they were very, very, very organized. There were a lot of situations. There was one part of the game, I can't remember when it was. and you won't catch it on the highlight reel because it wasn't a pivotal moment in the game in terms of goal scores or chance created. But there was literally a situation where the kickers had just gotten the ball back in our own half, and you could see that back line slowly moving up. And think I think it was Matt who got the ball on the wing, and I think he pings it across to Bolaños. And literally, as one, without anyone saying anything, as one, the back four just literally sprinted up like 10 yards together as a one line. And I was like, wow, they are drilled. I think they have developed. I don't know if they've developed like some kind of chemistry between the four of them, but they had it down packed. I remember seeing that moment and actually being quite impressed with that. And you had situations in the game where, like, for example, there was one situation where I think it was off of a free kick, or no, I think it was an open play where Tucson sent a long ball into the box. And because that line was so organized and so high up, Akira literally has the opportunity to just run out and just gobble that up, literally right on his line, right on the goalie box. And just we didn't see that very often. There were a lot of situations last season where most of the time Akira had to stay pretty far back on his line if the ball was anywhere near our half of the field.
Yeah, I thought back line looked really solid. We got I don't know. Is it too soon to be able to reuse the Twin Towers nickname?
We got to see how they do with the aerials, Jeff. We got to see how they do with the aerial duels. We haven't seen that part yet.
That's fair, but I mean,
yeah,
two big hosses there in the middle, Chrysler and Ani. But I want to give a little shine too to Dakota and Zaka in the midfield, because I think their presence really helped to gum things up and make life even easier on the back four. Also, shout out Chris Cole, coming in as a second half sub, replacing Ani, getting some minutes at center back. We saw him a lot at left back last year, but this time he was playing on kind of a left center back position, and he looked good in that role as well. So being able to have some of that flexibility among who can be able to go into those roles and be able to have a bunch of guys who can contribute, get Darren options, and going to make everybody have to stay sharper to keep their minutes up.
Yeah, most definitely. So, guys, one last question, and we don't have to stay super long on this, but just were you expecting this game from Tucson? I know very near the end of the game they get very frustrated. We definitely had the red card as well, but just overall, do you think this game is a fair reflection of what we're expecting to see out of the kickers going forward, or do you think this let's wait and see? We need a couple of more games to get a good feel of this team, real quick.
I think, like I said at the beginning, the slight caveat of Tucson were not ready, and this wasn't a team that was prepared for what the kickers threw at them. I think after the first goal, they kind of just went into panic mode, and it made it a lot easier. They started off the second half pretty well, because I'd say the first 10 minutes of the second half was basically in our half of the field. But all in all, Tucson just did not look prepared for the start of the season. So later on, I don't think it's going to be the same Tucson team we're going to be seeing when we play them again. So I don't think this is a complete reflection of what the kickers will be providing for us in terms of goal scoring and all of that. However, we are seeing the system that's being created here. We're seeing the philosophy that's being created here that Darren is putting into play. And so far, I like it. It's not park the bus counterattacking soccer, but it's basically soak up the pressure and literally create chances quickly. And I think there's a slight difference between the two, and I think Darren is toting that line very well with these boys. So yeah, it's giving us an idea of what they're trying to create. Now, will the other teams let us do this? And what will our plan B be when we face a team that doesn't allow us to do these things? That's what I want to see.
Okay. Matt, anything from you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, you could tell Tucson was integrating a lot of new pieces, into their team. But at the same time, that game could have seen the kicker scoring 6, 7, 8 goals without too much of a hard thought either. So there's that chance, creation. Past years, it's been all right. Well, thankfully, Emmy is a high conversion rate kind of guy because we're only getting those 1 or 2 chances a game, and he was able to cash in for us. But if we're getting these extra chances, we talked about the Bolaños one. Stu Ritchie, the left back, ended up almost all alone, in the box early in the second half, and that ball, pinballed around, and you're kind of surprised that it didn't go in on one of the 2 or 3 chances that we had there. There were a couple other opportunities where you could have easily seen another goal come about. So I think that's a really positive indicator moving forward. Are we going to score 4 goals every game? Unfortunately, probably not. I would love to be wrong on that one. That would be an amazing season if that's the case. But I think it's also the defensive shape is the good indicator moving forward too. We got a lot of guys who just didn't let things happen, and we'll probably see some more dynamic attack even next week. But you can only go off of what we've seen so far, and so far so good.
Yeah, most definitely. So, real quick, guys, we're going to put a nice big bow on that. It's definitely scoring 4 goals. Real quick, listeners, you're going to hear from past me and past Matt talking to the head coach of Kareem Shaitz of Nova FC, our upcoming opponent in the U.S. Open Cup. So, take a moment, listen to this interview. We'll be right back after this. Joining us on the show to start it off with, before we dive into the games, we have a very special guest, the head coach of Nova FC, Mr. Kareem Shaitz. Did I say that right?
Yep, you got it.
Yes. Yes. In your face, Matt.
Yeah.
But real quick, Kareem, just tell us about yourself. How did you get started in soccer, and from that point?
This started like most people from a young age, and my soccer, I guess, career is a little bit unique because our family is really big into the game. My dad opened one of the very first indoor facilities in Northern Virginia. So, we're really big in the indoor facility business, and we had, 5 retail soccer stores at one point. So, we're definitely a big soccer family. So if you've been in the Northern Virginia area, you've either shopped at our stores or played at our indoor places, or, even played for one of our youth teams or something growing up. So, but yeah, that's where it started for me. And, we're just, like I said, we're nonstop soccer.
Yeah, so Kareem, the Kickers and Nova are 2 of the longer, constantly running teams in the entire country. I know you all have been through a couple rebrands over the years, but still the same team since way back in the day, including you playing against the Kickers amateur teams back in the early 2000s and whatnot. Can you talk a little bit about how the Nova FC as a club has evolved over the years?
Yeah, so I think, obviously we've been around since 98. We're one of the longest, I guess, probably lower tiered teams, if you want to call them, that has survived, I guess, everything. A lot of teams have come and gone, and it's not easy to do one of these teams, and it costs money, and if you don't do it the right way, you can come in one year and go out the next. So it's we've done a good job at finding a system that works, financially, and we try to give the players, as best of an environment as we can. And I think we've kind of perfected that. I think the biggest, I guess, evolution turning point for us in recent time, obviously we started as a pro team, and we moved, I think it was 2004-ish. We went down to the USL 2 division. Back then it was called PDL. Mm-hmm. We made that change for a few reasons. We saw a really big disconnect between our youth system and our senior system, because we obviously couldn't use college kids, so we would graduate kids that went on to college, and we wouldn't be able to use them for 4 years for the pro team. So we just saw that as a big disconnect in what we were doing. And then on top of that, the minimum standards changed for the USL pro divisions, where you had to own your own stadium, and you couldn't play at high schools anymore and stuff like that. So I think obviously that was a big cost deciding factor for us. I'm sure I was young back then, so I don't want to speak out, but I'm pretty sure that was probably one of the deciding factors for us. But yeah, more so, I think it was more the disconnect is what what for us was the biggest thing. But I think the biggest evolution turning point for us in recent times, I took over as like the head guy maybe 3 years ago. And I think our biggest disconnect for us was in recent times that we were using players for USL2, and obviously it's a summer thing. So, we would get guys in, get them ready for this season. And then once the season was done, everyone kind of went back to their schools, but all the local guys, they would just go back to their normal, Sunday league teams and men's teams that were local. And we kind of decided, hey, if we're going to do this, we need to do it year round, and that's, I think for us now that we're doing things year round, it's kind of put us on the map a little bit. We're able to enter different competitions, and, we qualified through the US Open Cup because we were playing in a year round league that allowed us to qualify. Last year we had a decent run in the USL2. We finished, I think, second or third. We were like a point out of like the playoffs, but overall a good season.
Excellent. And you're talking a little bit about being able to give guys that more sustainable environment. I know that you've been able to send a couple guys up into NISA over the last year, but also looking at your roster, seeing guys with pro experience like Callie Brown and other guys with if anybody's paid attention to high level college soccer like Brandon Williamson, coming from Duke, who's local from the area. So have you been able to see maybe the overall standard of the club rising over the years as well with these changes?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, with social media nowadays, you start putting a couple of players into the pro realm, then I guess you become real in the market. We've always done a good job, on the training ground, and we've done our part. But if you're not producing pro players and to the public, you're not. So with us producing players, and we've done a really good job with goalkeepers for the past, I don't know how long. We've probably put 8 or 9 goalkeepers into the pros. So we have a good track record for keepers. And Callie Brown, he played with us while he was at UVA. So he would return to the summer. So we've known him a long time. He's local, and I asked him to put the gloves back on for Open Cup for us, and he's just down the street. A great guy. He's like a big gentle giant. Obviously pro experience. Brandon Williamson's another guy that I've known him since he was like 8. I've been selling him soccer shoes since he was a young guy, and it's cool to see that. That's the connections I was saying in the beginning, that we used to have the retail stores and the indoor places. So it's cool to see. It's cool to see some of these things. One of the guys that captains the team now, Aaron Etienne. I was at his signing day when he was in high school. Like, I've known him since he was really young. He played Super Y for us. His younger brother, is transferring from Radford to somewhere right now, but he's also in the mix. So it's cool to see, like kind of the history kind of repeat itself over and over with kids that are young that start with us, and hoping that they finish their careers with us, which is awesome. But no, yeah, we definitely have good experienced players. Obviously I think the difference in the game is going to be that we train twice a week, and they train a lot more than we do. But I think I'm hoping to give them a good game for sure.
Yeah. I mean, knowing that you just said it, like you guys train twice a week. If anyone listened to the audio of the game, they mentioned like how a lot of you guys players are also coaches for the club.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we have 9 guys that coach, so we're expecting a decent little crowd, even though it's a little bit later kickoff. But yeah, we have 9 guys that coach, so we have guys that coach all day long, and they show up for a game and they play, and it's cool to see because it connects the community to us. We have that many youth coaches that are playing. It gives them the kids an opportunity to come out and kind of yell at the coach a little bit and hold them accountable, just like he does to them. And like I said, it just it gives the kids like something real to touch, and it's another connection with the coach to the club, I think.
Yeah, and we've seen that down in Richmond, firsthand.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Really,
I'm sure,
build long-standing ties. You see, kids who have been coached by guys like Mike Burke back in the day, from 6 until all the way. Then you see them later on, side-by-side photos of them getting ready to graduate high school, head off to their college teams.
Yeah, for sure.
But older Mike Burke.
Yeah.
For instance. So we've definitely seen how that kind of community build can really be beneficial for a club.
Yeah, I think it's the only way to do it, to be successful, I think, in this in the market, right? For being at that pro level, you have to connect, or else, it just, you're not going to get people to come watch the games, right? It's hard to bring outside people in, because there's no local tie to them, right? So I think the more teams can use local guys, and you're going to get more people in the stands and more people to support it, I think. But it's, each team has their own ways of doing things, but I think it's important for sure.
Yeah. So speaking of a challenge, with teams at any level, but especially at your level, you've got to make 2 round trips to Lynchburg in consecutive weeks. With guys who are working, part-time, full-time jobs, right now. How big of a challenge was that for you to be able to make sure everything was able to go through and be successful?
I'm actually lucky, because a lot of the guys do, all of our guys do a really good job at making themselves available. We only had one guy out of the entire group, which is Prince. He played in game 1. He couldn't play in game 2 because of work, but it is a challenge, right? You have to, I'm asking these guys that, none of our guys get paid. So I'm asking them to essentially lose money, to skip work, right? To come, to a game, and having to do that twice is, it's twice as hard, right? It makes it harder on my part to ask them to do it, but everyone's understanding of it. We're all bought into this, together, and this game's all about them, right? It's just, I'm excited for the guys that have the opportunities. For a lot of them, it's going to be the biggest game that they play in their entire career. So especially for some of our older guys, a lot of our older guys have good experience at the professional level, but it's a good way for them to kind of hang up the boots, not necessarily right after the game, but for them to finish kind of at the top is great for them.
So I want to ask you this question. The second game was a lot more chippier than the first game. How frustrated were you personally with some of the cards that were given out, and definitely the red card in the last few minutes of the game?
Yeah, it's, I'm always about the controllable factors, right? And I used to always get on refs, when I was younger, and it's a factor that you can never control, right? Just like weather, just like, situations like game 1, we couldn't control the weather. So we got to roll with the punches, right? It's just it's one of those things. But yeah, I mean, it definitely got chippy, I think, for no reason, right? But everyone makes mistakes, right? A ref might have a bad game, players are going to have bad games, right? And it's I'm sure it's hard to manage 22 players that are trying to battle for something, and you're probably not going to see everything, but that's the way it is. That's the way the game is. And, we just have to roll with them, right? If we got to play against 14 people, we'll play against 14 people. If they're not on our side, they're not on our side. So you just got to fight against the odds,
Yeah. Just going back a little bit, can you just walk us through your team's journey of making the U.S. Open Cup and getting to this stage?
So we had 3 qualification games. Springfield was our first one. We had never played them before, a local team, and they weren't bad. Our second game, we played Virginia United, who has history against Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
But also it was, kind of a bittersweet game because they have a lot of history with us. A lot of their players, if you kind of go back, probably 9 of them were former players of ours in PDL, guys that played with us 4 or 5 years, so it was definitely a good battle. And they're one of the better teams in our area, as far as like competition goes, because they have good guys, they have guys that have played the game at a good level, and we all have ties with each other. Right. So it was a good one. And then we finished against, a DC team. I think it was Districtonia, maybe. We actually finished that game with 9 players, 2 red cards. Once again, 2 questionable ones, but we had to roll with it.
Yeah.
So it's but yeah, and that that was our kind of our Open Cup, I guess, qualification rounds. Those 3 games were what we had to do to get to the Open Cup.
So what I'm hearing is on Wednesday, if y'all pick up a red card, we actually need to be the ones to be afraid at that moment.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So for the Kickers fans who are going to be tuning in, this is the first time they've seen Nova FC play. Briefly, how would you describe the style that you like to see out on the field?
I mean, we try to keep the ball, and for me, it's a challenge sometimes, right? Because I don't always have everyone, right? Throughout the year, you're going to have guys that, especially with like a lot of our coaches that coach, when they're in season, they're going to miss some games, right? So it's a little bit unique for me because it's almost game to game for me, right? If I got to change the way we play based on who we have sometimes, right? And obviously who we're playing against. But we typically come out in a 4-3-3. Sometimes we'll play with 2 6s. Sometimes we're in 1 6, but it's really just personnel based. We don't always have Callie Brown in the goal, so that changes the way we play as well. But yeah, it's more game for game for me because, like I said, guys are 9 to 5, stuff comes up, guys are starting to have kids now. And, so that's trying to keep the wives happy and a good balance is, it's a challenge for me, but, we try to play the 4-3-3, the right way and, possession style, and our 6 likes to come in and split the 2 in the back, and we try to play at the back. But yeah, I mean, we're just, we're hoping to play decent ball and give the kickers a good game.
So, for those who don't also know about your team is also about to start up a women's team. What went into the process of starting that up?
So we, just like the men's side, we have long history in the women's side. Back in the day, the Northern Virginia Majestics was the women's branch of the Northern Virginia Royals, and they played. I think they started. I might be wrong with the dates, but I think we started 98, and I think they started 99 or 2000. One of those 2 dates is when they started. And then when they stopped playing, I think it's when the W League stopped. That's basically when the Washington Spirit started. Or I think back then it was the Washington Freedom, and then eventually became the Washington Spirit. So, we've done actually, I think we've done a good job in the women's market. Before we even announced the women's team, we always have women's players that are training with our men's group. We're kind of like the unknown team that allows women's players to train with our men's, especially for the women's that are in between contracts for pros, or guys or girls that are in their off season. We've helped a lot of girls to get ready for their seasons and stuff. So it's good. The only issue for us is that there's really nothing for women's, minus obviously the top, to play in year round. There's nothing that's stable. And, we're trying to work out something with, hopefully maybe with like the EPSL teams that we play with year round, maybe starting women's team to kind of boost the women's game. Because really, if you really think about it, there's not many leagues that play year round for the women's, minus the top. Right. And, hopefully the USLW League, when they announce or when they start the pro division, hopefully that changes that, but it's, we're definitely excited to offer the women's game, our program to the women's game. And we actually had a team that played last summer in the women's program. So, and our roster is looking really good. A lot of big time players that are coming in, and, hopefully that, maybe we can work with the Spirit, our local team to help push players to them, which would be ideal because we're just down the street for them.
Absolutely. And, Northern Virginia, hotbed of,
for sure,
both on boys and girls side. I mean, you got Andy Sullivan from right down the road.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. With Andy Sullivan, with her sister, I grew up kind of playing indoor soccer with her sister all the time. She always was down at our indoor places playing. So her and there's a lot of players that came out of the area that, that are local, that played at our indoor places.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
So talking about this USL League 2 side, you guys got a lot of local, I don't know if you want to call them derbies, but a lot of local games. From Knightsbridge FC to Virginia Beach United, PFA, I'm never going to try to say the name.
Yeah.
Commonwealth Cardinals FC and Crystals FC.
Yeah.
And you guys play in the Chesapeake division, right?
Correct. So this is a new division for us this year. So we used to play in the Northern Division, which was like New York Red Bulls, Ocean City Nor'easters, Reading United, teams that have a lot of good history. So this is our first time playing in this division. There's, I think, 2 or 3 new teams in the division. So it'll be interesting to see, how the season goes. Yeah. We know the Lionsbridge guys pretty well down there. I actually used to play USL2 against Chris, the guy that coaches that team down there. So it'll be fun to coach against him, just because we have history playing against each other. And no, I mean, we're definitely looking forward to it. And it's right around the corner, right? It's crazy to think that it's just around the corner for us, but we have a solid group going into it, and we're bringing in some good college players that will be in the mix with us. So we're definitely excited to get that season started.
what are you guys looking to do with USL League Two? Like, are you guys eventually looking to make the move up to USL League One, or is it kind of just like we're comfortable where we're at and whatever happens happens?
We're slowly working on that right now, right? Because now that we have a few pieces of the puzzle kind of set, and we've been around for 3 years, and our name's kind of out there. We're hoping that this Open Cup push for us. Sorry, boys, the lights keep going out on me.
Sounds good.
We're hoping that the Open Cup kind of pushes us to maybe that next level. Um, you know, it obviously takes money to make that big jump, and we'll just have to see what we just don't want to do anything that we're not ready to do, obviously, and we're doing a good job right now. But yeah, I mean, that would be the dream for us, to bring USL One maybe to the area. I think would be fantastic. Especially, I think I would assume that Loudoun United would be leaving the USL market and going to the MLS Next Pro to join all the other MLS teams. So, that kind of leaves the market open in that area. And I think a USL One team in that market, I think, would do really, really well. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what the future brings. But yeah, I think, and if not, we'll just continue to push players along. We have good enough relationships with a lot of people, and even with Darren down at the Kickers, I've been talking to him a lot over the past few years. Just it was kind of during COVID, and things were really tough to make things work, just with all the restrictions and traveling down and trying to get players looked at and all that stuff. But hopefully we can do something. Even with the Kickers, we'd love to send players down on a regular basis. It's not not too far from us to create something for sure.
Yeah, you talked about having that relationship with Darren. What does it mean for Nova to have the Kickers come up to them for such an important U.S. Open Cup game? Because normally teams will come down to Richmond. What does
For
it mean
sure,
to have
yeah,
a team come up to y'all?
and it's going to be exciting, and I think they'll have a good time, at the place that we play at. It's a soccer specific stadium, and it's actually a really cool venue. It's actually one of the largest fields in the world. It's a true 120 by 80. So it's it might not benefit us a little bit, from a fitness standpoint, but it's our home, and it's like I said, the new ownership group at it's now called Revolution Sportsplex, which it was recently bought maybe 6 or 7 months ago, but they've been pumping some money into the facility and changing things and just kind of creating a good venue there, and it's I think it's going to be a cool spot for us to host that game for sure.
Yeah, having been there a couple times before, I can definitely say it's a nicer venue than some of the other League One places.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely cool. It's like I said, it's rare to have a soccer specific stadium that's not attached to a pro team, and it's nice. They've done a really good job there. The setup's nice. Brand new turf was put in, I think 3 or 4 months ago. Lighting was just redone, so it's a perfect spot for a game like this, and we're looking forward to hosting them.
Yeah. One last question before we wrap up this interview, my man. I thank you again. You hear it over there in England about how the FA Cup and how playing against bigger teams kind of help generate revenue for teams that eventually want to take that jump. Financially, what does it mean to play against the Richmond Kickers in this stage? How is that going to help the club financially?
You know what? I think it might help when we reach out to from the marketing standpoint. I think if we're starting to reach out to new sponsors, I think that's going to help us because I think there was 6,000 people that watched our game live against Lynchburg, and that's those are good numbers for a small team like us. Just a small amateur team. That's good. I think, it's 6,000 people watching the game live, and some of the guys were actually surprised. I was like, don't be surprised. I mean, that's, this is something that I didn't have growing up. I had, my mom recording the games growing up, and she missed all the goals because she was excited. So and that was on a VHS, which a lot of kids don't know what that even is. So,
right.
But no, yeah, I think, it's going to just bring a lot to the table for us, sponsors and, just credibility. I think I think that's what it's about. I think just making us credible, right? You sign players, that's great, and then you start to play against some bigger teams. That's also, going into the game. Hopefully Darren gives me a call after the game saying, "Hey, I like this guy and I like that guy," and that's what it's about.
We'll talk about the guys. Who are some players that Richmond fans need to keep an eye on?
Well, I mean, there's the obvious. I mean, the guys that definitely have pro experience. I mean, Callie Brown in goal. He's hard to miss. He's 6'6", so. he's definitely a big guy, and he'll be wearing all red, so he's definitely going to be really hard to miss. Brandon Williamson that plays in the middle, he's got a big afro, so he's a technical savvy player that's got some good experience, and he'll be all over the field. There'll be another kid. His name's Ilias. He'll play in the middle. He's young, he's small, he's like, you look at him and he's like, man, this guy's not going to be able to play. But the kid covers the entire field, and he's got an endless engine. So he's a kind of a little spark, and he definitely covers a lot of ground in the midfield with Brandon. And then we got a few other pieces to the puzzle that I think if they have a good game, then hopefully they're going to give Richmond, a hard time. So, and that's, like I said, we're just trying to give Richmond a good game, and just give the crowd good soccer to watch.
Awesome. Well, Coach, Kareem, we just want to say thank you, man, for coming on the show. We look forward to seeing you up there on Wednesday, man.
Appreciate it. Are you guys coming up?
Oh yeah, we'll be up there.
I'm in Fairfax anyway, so this is an easy trip for me.
Oh, perfect. If you guys want a jersey or anything, let me know.
Awesome.
All right.
Like
let me know the sizes. I got you.
All right, but we'll talk to you later, Coach. All right.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right. Bye. So, Matt, U.S. Open Cup game is coming up Wednesday. How do you think the kickers are going to line up, and how do you think they're going to play in this game?
I think Darren's going to be going for it. I don't think it's going to be the same 11 that we saw this last week, last week on Saturday by any means, because we do have another game coming up this coming Saturday. So there's going to need to be some squad rotation. On Darren's post-game interview yesterday, he alluded to the fact that there would be we'll be seeing more debuts this week. So I think some of those guys who didn't get on the field yesterday, we're going to see tomorrow most likely. But Darren was talking about, they take the Open Cup seriously. They see it as an opportunity to be able to get to those big games later on against the MLS team. So it's kind of that same corollary we were just talking with Kareem about. For them, getting a pro team like the Kickers is the big goal for them. For the Kickers, it's getting to the MLS stage. So I think Darren is going to go for it. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Emmy. I don't think we'll see Akira necessarily. They might be there on the bench, kind of a an emergency, break glass, kind of scenario. But otherwise, I think we'll probably see guys like David Olson, Matt Bentley. We'll probably see Chris Cole start. We'll probably see Simon Fitch in there. Maybe a Dwyer, getting some minutes in there. So we'll see some rotation, but I don't think it's going to be like a full-on B team either.
Yeah, I think the same. I think definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Palmquist get a start. Probably Candela, probably Cole, Bentley, Finch, Olsen, like the same guys that you name it as well. I don't think the center back pairing is going to change. I don't see that changing. If
I can see one of them resting.
Who you
I don't think
think?
it'll be both of them changing out, but I think maybe one of them might.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so. You probably is either. I'm leaning more so towards Jalen getting a rest, and then Bart Nathan taking the other center back.
Okay, so sliding back.
Yeah, probably so. Because we only have 3 center backs on the roster, don't we?
I think it probably depends on how you want to classify Simon Fitch. Chris Cole, came in, played center back last night.
Yeah.
So he can be able to tuck in there a little bit. So I think it probably depends on just how you want to frame certain guys.
Yeah. The reason why I favor Richmond in this matchup is for 2 reasons. One, I think Darren is taking it serious. I say coaches in the past aren't, but I think Darren and the team are taking this seriously. 2, I also think we're not playing this at home, so we can't easily just rest on our laurels, just rely on the Red Army, can't rely on having home field advantage. I think being on the road, it kind of you eliminate certain distractions and kind of have to hone in and focus on the task at hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to sound like cocky about it, but I think the other big thing is the Kickers are going to have more talent across the board. In the interview, we were hearing about Callie Brown. He won national championship with UVA, played pro for quite a few years. So they have individual guys who have talent, but if you're not training at that same level consistently, if you're only have scattered guys at that higher level, it's going to be tougher. Now we've seen in the past that just having raw talent does not always win out.
Yeah.
Necessarily, but I think the benefit is this is going to be early enough in the year that guys are going to be hungry to get minutes to be able to establish why they deserve more minutes later on.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm really expecting a lot out of Matt Bentley, and not expecting a lot of him, but I'm expecting to have a good game in this. Maybe we might see Ethan. Hopes it doesn't. I haven't heard anything about injury updates on him, but I'm hoping everything's all right. And
I wouldn't push it on this one with him if we're going playing on a turf field. He didn't even dress on Saturday.
Yeah.
Even if he's partly ready, I might hold it out.
Yeah. True. That's very true. I'm probably correct in saying is I'm expecting a little bit more of the ball in this game. So how do you think Richmond adjusts with that, knowing that there's so more of a little bit sit back and rely on pushing up?
Yeah, yes, we'll probably almost certainly have more than the ball than usual, but I still think it's going to be a very direct go kind of style. I don't think Darren's all of a sudden going to try to have them playing vintage Barcelona style or anything. He's going to want to keep with what works. We're going to have the fitness advantage almost certainly. We're going to probably try to use that. Try to spread them out wide on the wings, let our guys get those one-on-one advantages that we've seen over the last 3 years that Darren loves to be able to exploit, and let our guys do their thing.
Yeah. All right. So hope you enjoyed that interview. For y'all that are coming up to the game, hope to see you there. Make sure you're in the Facebook group because we're trying to get some stuff together so we can hang out beforehand and cheer on our boys in red. Shanair, real quick, what are your thoughts about this U.S. Open game coming up midweek?
I think it's going to be an opportunity for us to see a little bit of rotation. Who knows? We might see Bentley start. It's one thing that I think has given Darren a lot more freedom is the fact that we don't completely rely on. Apparently, we're not completely relying on Terzaghi for all of our goals. We have other guys that are efficient at putting the ball in the back of the net, and I know he had started off with a missed opportunity, but I can see Bolaños getting the ball in the back of the net far more times than he did last season. Viñals is definitely going to be scoring goals. Bentley is showing that he's fighting for his spot. So at this point, I think I can see on Wednesday a rotated side, because with 3 games in 7 days, you want to kind of rotate the squad so that you're not burning people out way too early. We're only 1 game into the season, so I think I can see a rotated squad, maybe to give some other guys opportunities to show what they got, to see if can I rely on you off the bench in a game? Can I rely on you to maybe start if someone gets injured? I think this will be a big opportunity for Darren to figure that out in this game.
Yep. All right, guys, let's go ahead. We got that game. Now we go against on Saturday. We got another home game against new USL League One debutantes, Northern Colorado. They just released their jerseys, matter of fact, by the way, as well. Guys, what are your thoughts on this? How do you think this game is going to play out? We won't know how this team is going to play until they play their U.S. Open Cup game in an interstate derby against Colorado Springs as well. So what are your guys' thoughts on how this game is going to go? How do you think Darren prepares this game with the U.S. Open Cup midweek?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tricky because we haven't seen them. I imagine Darren will probably be on the phone with some of the like New Mexico guys because they know they've played them preseason. Get a little bit of scouting that way, but we don't know, right? My guess is that for their very first official game as a pro team, they're going to go for it against Colorado Springs, right? So and then being out in Colorado and then 3 days later having to play on the East Coast, I don't know if they're going to roll out the same guys 2 games in a row. Some of them will probably run it back twice, but just don't know. But they do have some recognizable names on their roster, from past opponents. You got Ethan Vanacore Decker, the guy that Omaha fans thought should have been MVP over Emmy a couple of years ago, even though no. Lachlan McLean, who'd been playing, for Greenville, previously. The villain, Marky Hernandez, from Chattanooga. That guy, hate him.
Yeah, I would never forget that goal he scored. What was it, 2020? Where he just
we don't talk about that here.
Oh God,
no,
we don't talk about that here. They got Breck Evans from North Texas, experience. So they've got some guys with some League One, credentials in there. They got Irvin Parra, who was playing for Charlotte before when they were in the championship, and he was putting up numbers for them and put up numbers for St. Louis when he was there. So they got some good attacking pieces. I don't know how their midfield or defense is going to look, but they're putting together kind of a classic teenager FIFA type squad of all attackers and see what happens.
Yeah, that's one thing I am seeing about this team. They got 3 center backs, only 1 recognized fullback, and that's Denzel, who was on our team, who didn't play for us last year. Funny enough,
played.
Well, did play. Comes through Dennis Chen's agency. So a little cool connection there for Kickers fans. But yeah, Matt, like you're saying, like the majority of this team is very heavily focused on the attack. Don't be surprised they come at like in a 3-4-3 or whatever, like a very attacking minded formation. Because I'm assuming that Hernandez, Parra, McLean, and Decker are going to find a way how to get in the field some way, somehow. So the back four and the Kara are going to have their hands filled. Shanir, let me ask you this question. How does Darren Sawatsky kind of counteract that, knowing that Norco is going to be, very offensive, this being their USL debut?
To be honest with you, I think Darren is going to wait to see what happens on Wednesday, because you're looking at a Colorado Springs switchback team that started the season guns blazing. I know they're only 4 games in, but that's 4 games, 4 wins. So they are on the top of the Western Conference right now of the USL Championship. They're a league above this Northern Colorado team. I do feel that if Colorado Springs play a rotated squad and they're able to maybe hold out to a 1-0 loss or a 2-1 loss or something like that, that will boost their confidence. They don't need to win that game for their confidence to be boosted up against a team that started the season guns blazing and is a league above. So I think
here's why I might disagree with you on this one. If we look at their schedule, they had their game midweek against Colorado Springs away, right? But I mean, yeah, Colorado's kind of a big state, but kind of local, right? They play us.
Yeah.
They play at Charlotte. They play at North Carolina. They play at Chattanooga. They play at Charlotte again.
Yeah, it's a while before they're home because they're waiting on the stadium.
Right.
It's a while.
They don't play at a scheduled home game until June 8th. So if their fans want to be able to actually see them in person, Colorado Springs is going to be their first, their only chance for 2 months still. So that's why I think they might go for it.
Yeah, it's going to be a while before they.
Yeah. I mean, I can see them going. I can see them going for it. However, I don't know how. I mean, at the end of the day, you can go for it against anybody, but them going for it, I don't think they're going to get the result that they're looking for against a Colorado Springs team that is clicking. And if they go for it too much, then they're going to leave themselves wide open to get completely blown apart.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm worried about. And if that does happen, there goes their opportunity to show out in front of their fans. Now they're literally spending 2 months on the road. We may get a much better chance of coming away with a decisive a la Tucson win.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because not only do you have that component of it, but then you also have to think about what is Darren going to be doing, how he's going to be preparing for this. I think this is going to be a good indication of how this kicker team is going to look. Obviously, this game is going to be on short rest, but in terms of we're literally playing four guys that have given the kickers hell over the last two seasons. So to combat
True.
that, I think things will look good in our favor. Guys, before we wrap up, it's so great to be doing these again. Season starts up.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Kickers have won. 1-0, 3 points, 4 goals. It's great, isn't it?
Absolutely. And
Oh
maybe
yeah.
I'll go ahead, Shneer.
No, I just said, oh yeah, like just for us to start off the season like this, and another thing I did want to point out was outside of on the field, stadium was bumping.
Oh yeah. Outside it,
We had a
wonderful
pretty
loud on the
decent.
broadcast.
Yeah, we had a pretty good crowd. We had a pretty good crowd out there. Red
Yeah.
Army was in full voice, sounding fantastic. It was great to see a lot of familiar faces again after not seeing them for a while. And yeah,
Yeah, legit 4K in the stands. Never been so happy to wait in line to get in because you walked up there pregame and even half an hour beforehand. There's a line already to get in there and couldn't be
oh
happier.
yeah.
Yeah. It's been a long time, man. 2 years of the pandemic and
Yeah.
everything like that. It's been great, man. It's been great.
Elliot, specifically for you.
I'm
You're-
banned again for another game because I have another wedding to go to this weekend.
Get the hell out of here.
What?
Yeah, dude, everyone wants to get married now. In the pandemic is kind of like not over, but over in a sense. So,
Don't you get married after allergy season though?
I don't know. Look, it's not my wedding. I have to go up to Baltimore, so I'll be there cheering on
Gotta
the roof
go.
again on my phone, hovering in the corner, like, "Yay, go! Happy wedding! Go, Iman!"
So what I was really going to ask you was, your personal crusade, comes to life. What do you think of the green on the field?
Oh, it looks wonderful. It looks great.
Oh
It looks
yeah.
really good.
Oh yes. We need to talk. I love the green kit. I loved it. Oh, that was nice.
It looks really good, man. It looks even better after a 4-0 win.
Yeah. With the white shorts and the white socks too, so much better than if they'd done all green.
Oh yeah. I do personally. A little side of me wants to see how it looks with the blue shorts, but if we get 4-0 win, I don't really care what jersey we wear.
Well, that's true also.
So before you got Matt.
I was going to say, before we wrap up, I wanted to roll out a new feature that we're putting into the show this year. We're trying to be a little more organized this time. And, how can we be able to look back at the end of the year and find out who's actually, the River City 93 player of the year?
Yeah.
So we're actually going to do this nice ranking system style. So, Shneer, kind of putting you on the spot here. I already told Elliot about this, but after each win, we're giving our kind of NHL style 3 stars of the game. Each of us, give a player 3 points, 2 points, 1 point, and we're going to tally them throughout the year. And whoever comes out on top at the end of the year, that's our objective player of the year, not just this guy was hot at the end of the year. Let's give it to him.
Yeah. So let's go and start.
We'll give Shneer a moment to think about it. Ellie, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I got to give 3 players to give them 3, 2, or 1 points, right?
Yeah. So who gets the 3 points for you? Who's your player of the game?
My player of the game is Mr. Neil Vignos. Self-explanatory, 2 goals, 1 assist. Second, I'm going to give it to Kira Fitzgerald. I believe he had 4 saves on the night. Made a very, very good one in the 38th minute. Made another one that could have been tricky, but it was safe hands later on in the game. So I'm gonna give him my 2 points, and then 1. I'm gonna give this to Mr. Matt Bentley for scoring on his debut with that Thunder Rocket at the 85th minute.
Excellent. Shneer, you ready or want me to go first?
Yeah, I'm ready. Number one for me, it's gonna be very similar to Elliot. Number one for me is Neil. He gets the 3 points. Uh, 2 goals and an assist, and played a big role in the in all 4 goals. To be honest with you, he was on fire. So 3 points for him. My 2 point player is Bolaños. He was a nightmare for Tucson's right back. I don't know if Tucson's right back was even really existent throughout the game. Like Bolaños was putting him to the sword, like throughout, especially the second half. So I got to give Bolaños the 2 points.
He wasn't existent at the end of the game because he got himself set off.
He did get himself set off. He got pissed. He got cooked so many times that he got pissed. He lost his head. But my 1 point, like Elliot, is gonna have to go to Bentley. The confidence to take that shot. I'm just very impressed with how confident he was. He said, "I'm taking this shot. I'm ripping it past his goalkeeper from this tough angle." It's gonna have to be 1 point for him.
Awesome. All right. So for mine, yeah, I got to agree with you all. Easy man of the match, Neil Vignoles. He'll take all 3 from me. 2 points. I'm going to go to Stephen Payne. I thought he had a great debut at right back. Really got himself involved, got himself engaged, had the assist there. Really, just all around strong showing. Looking forward to seeing more of him. And we talked about this on the preseason show. I got a softness for those outside backs, so I gave my 1 point to Stuart Ritchie. I thought he really helped to control the attack. Blazing up from left back, started the play for the first goal. Almost had a banger of a goal himself in the first half.
He did, and I was really hoping he scored it. Like I was like, oh, if he scores this.
Yeah, so that's where I'm giving my 1 point too. So yeah, after week 1, Neil well out ahead, 9 points overall. Got a bunch of guys on 2 points, and then Stu on 1. Guys, I can't believe we got through a game where Emmy scored and he didn't even make it on the the leaderboard right now.
Oh, that's
gotta be a good
right?
sign for us.
Yeah, that is a good sign. That is a good sign. And to be honest with you, that is no knock to Terzaghi. And I to be honest with you, if I'm Terzaghi, I'm happy. I don't have to work so hard to be man of the match every game. Someone else can take that title every once in a while, and I can just do my thing. Like I do feel that I felt that if we went through another season of him being our main guy to go to score goals, we were going to have a Bruno Fernandes situation of completely burnt out. Because at the end of the day, you cannot expect a player to be the sole target, the sole, salvation for the team throughout 3 years running. It can't happen. And I think this year Terzaghi is going to have some fun. He's going to have some fun this season.
Well, hopefully he does. Remember, Kickers fans, you got 2 games this week. Start the season off right with that. So as always, we want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day for listening to us. You can follow the show on YouTube, or Twitter, or Instagram, and on Facebook at River City 93. Just take a moment, support the podcast, like, share, subscribe with a friend. It's the start of a new year. We're trying to get some new listeners. So, guys, we'll holler at you next week. All right. Be safe and be
Wednesday night, 8:00.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.